Welcome to Games from Folktales, a podcast that mixes historical research and tabletop role-playing settings. I'm your host, Timothy Ferguson. This week, a horological demon from Jules Verne. There's an odd little demon in Master Zacharias by Jules Verne. He's a little too technologically sophisticated for 1220, but a similar idea might be used for any master crafter or for a Veditus Magus. The horological demon has sent a plague against the master clockmaker's works, so that in defiance of physical laws, the springs no longer have elasticity. People return the clocks and watches he's made, which drives him into penury. He also becomes obsessed with the idea that his life is tied to his clocks, and that so long as one of them remains ticking, he is immortal, but if the last one is silenced, he will pass away. The last clock, his masterpiece, has been purchased and corrupted by the demon. It offers to show Zacharias how to preserve his clocks in exchange for the hand of his daughter Gerande, who is engaged to Zacharias' apprentice, Albert. The demon is stoking Zacharias' sin of pride this whole time. The daughter is merely the culmination of that seduction. In the end, Gerande escapes, but Zacharias is likely damned anyway, because he compares himself to God in his mastery of mechanisms and his supposedly eternal life. He also claims that one of his clocks is a sure guide to the salvation of the soul. And now a quote from the book. The recording was released into the public domain through LibriVox by Zachary Katz Stein. Thanks, Zachary. Statistics for the horological demon will be found on the blog that accompanies the podcast.
So, though Gerande and Aubert were ignorant of it, all Geneva was soon talking of their speedy union. But it also happened that, while the worthy folk were gossiping, a strange chuckle was often heard, and a voice saying, "Gerande will not wed Aubert." If the talkers turned round, they found themselves facing a little old man who was quite a stranger to them. How old was this singular being? No one could have told. People conjectured that he must have existed for several centuries, and that was all. His big, flat head rested upon shoulders the width of which was equal to the height of his body. This was not above 3 feet. This personage would have made a good figure to support a pendulum, for the dial would have naturally been placed on his face, and the balance wheel would have oscillated at its ease in his chest. His nose might readily have been taken for the style of a sundial, for it was narrow and sharp. His teeth, far apart, resembled the cogs of a wheel, and ground themselves between his lips. His voice had the metallic sound of a bell. You could hear his heartbeat like the tick of a clock. This little man, whose arms moved like the hands on a dial, walked with jerks, without ever turning round. If anyone followed him, it was found that he walked a league an hour, and that his course was nearly circular. This strange being had not long been seen wandering, or rather circulating, around the town, but it had already been observed that, every day, at the moment when the sun passed the meridian, he stopped before the cathedral of St. Pierre, and resumed his course after the 12 strokes of noon had sounded. Excepting at this precise moment, he seemed to become a part of all the conversations in which the old watchmaker was talked of, and people asked each other, in terror, what relation could exist between him and Master Zacharias. It was remarked, too, that he never lost sight of the old man and his daughter while they were taking their promenades. One day, Gerande perceived this monster looking at her with a hideous smile. She clung to her father with a frightened motion.
"What is the matter, my Gerande?"
asked Master Zacharias.
"I do not know," replied the young girl.
"But thou art changed, my child. Art thou going to fall ill in thy turn? Ah, well,"
he added with a sad smile,
"then I must take care of thee, and I will do it tenderly.
Oh, father, it will be nothing. I am cold, and I imagine that it is
What, Durand?
the presence of that man who always follows us, she replied in a low tone. Master Zacharias turned towards the little old man.
Faith, he goes well,
said he with a satisfied air.
for it is just 4 o'clock. Fear nothing, my child. It is not a man, it is a clock.
Durand looked at her father in terror. How could Master Zacharias read the hour on this strange creature's visage?
By the by,
continued the old watchmaker, paying no further attention to the matter,
I have not seen Albert for several days.
Your saga may vary.